Arizona State. It's been a while since they've had a full-time athletic director, since last November when Ray Anderson stepped down from that post. They've had an interim in place, but it looks like Graham Rossini will be the man to take over that office. Here to talk about it with us, the publisher of SunDevilSource.com, Chris Karpman, our guest on the Arizona Sports Line. Chris, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Hello,
Doing well. We talked about this a few weeks ago with you, about this being a possibility and the blowback that came from a lot of boosters and people in the donation game for Arizona State. What has changed from that point until now, in your opinion, to make this far down the line, and it looks like he's going to be the ultimate choice for this position?
I think Michael Crow just waiting everybody out and listening to concerns, political elements to this, making sure that people who do raise their concerns or issues are heard, and even if they want other things, concessions. I've heard that the Board of Regents is going to include some bonus structuring for Michael Crow on revenue sports success at ASU. That's one of the things that I think appease some of these people. Not that I think that really ultimately will change any of the fundamentals at ASU, but combination of people just kind of getting frustrated by the process 6 months in, and everything that's kind of been going on at ASU, and there's just not enough also, I think, passion that exists among the top of the food chain people, boosters, and other community leaders for ASU athletics at this point. It's been almost worn down over a period of a lot of years, such that people are more amenable to kind of going along with whatever Michael Crow wants to do. And he's one of the most powerful people in the state, and he has shown the ability to flex that when needed.
This is some will view this, rightfully so, as another non-traditional in-house hire, maybe Michael Crow's way of showing it, I'm going to do it my way. If you took Michael Crow out of this discussion, would Graham Rossini be a palatable AD based on his credentials? If you took everything we know about Michael Crow and the history of this program in revenue sports out of the equation, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think so. The only reason that Graham Rossini is expected to get this job is because he works at ASU. I mean, if you took this identical resume at any other place in the country, college athletics, he wouldn't be a serious candidate. Michael Crow shown over the years for a very long time the propensity, the willingness to be sort of against the grain and do things that he just prefers, even against the suggestions of others. There was a group of people that were tasked with making a recommendation when Lisa Love was hired as athletic director. He went against the suggestion of basically everybody in the room in that conversation. And then I think that Ray Anderson was his own idea. The notion that Ray Anderson said that there was going to be an exhaustive nationwide search for ASU's next football coach, which really never even took place. It was sort of a sham thing, and Herm Edwards was always going to be the hire. And now Graham Rossini, who I've been told for at least the last several months is the only person that Michael Crow has targeted for this position. I talked to a lot of industry insiders, people that work at search firms. I talked to several other athletic directors and agents of a number of athletic directors, none of whom said that they heard of ASU seriously vetting or interviewing any other candidates.
Talking with Chris Karpman from SunDevilSource.com. I'm wondering, in that reporting and that process that you went through, and that is what you uncovered, that there wasn't really much of a search that went on at all. A, again, why did it take so long then to arrive at Graham Rossini? And B, what was the reaction of the people that you did talk to on the lack of thorough search by Arizona State? Because it just seems completely backward not to operate that way, Chris.
Yeah, very baffling, actually, to a lot of these people, particularly given the atmospherics of ASU really struggling in the last few years. The NCAA investigation, a lot of sentiment out there that there needs to be a course correction of kind of the leadership element, and Michael Crow almost being tone deaf to that is the perception in the industry. And then it leads to a lot of questions about, well, why does Michael Crow want to hire Graham Rossini, who's never worked at any other school athletic department or led any big entity, whether that's a college or business or anything, nearly of this challenge. And the most likely scenario that people have said to me is that Michael Crow wants control. He wants things to be done his way, that somebody who's external, who's already been successful at another school as an athletic director, would have a lot more deeply entrenched perspective about what needs to happen to course correct at ASU, and that would be something that maybe Crow would be resistant to. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Yes, it does. And yet, in this time without an athletic director, it seems like Kenny Dillingham and Bobby Hurley are doing maybe better than expected on the recruiting trail. Your thoughts on that? And in the longer view, do you think maybe someday college football will get to the point where the payment of athletes becomes institutionalized, meaning that schools don't have to deal with this themselves, and maybe a playing field gets leveled that way?
Well, so Kane Dillingham always understood the importance of NIL and was working very hard with boosters and others locally from the minute that he arrived. In fact, he was lining that up before he even arrived, and that was one of the reasons why he got the job. And Bobby Hurley has come around to the importance of NIL a lot more recently, later than he really should have. But done a good job in that area in recent months. Mm-hmm. I think that they're operating almost kind of autonomously right now. What I've heard is that there's not a lot of direction or leadership because of this void that's happened since Ray Anderson's departure. And Graham Rossini, although everybody kind of knows that he's expected to be the replacement, hasn't happened yet. And so they're just kind of doing their own thing. But what's interesting about what you asked there is, Dan, is Michael Crow has the ability, if schools end up directly compensating athletes, to make the Sun Devils a huge national prominent player, because ASU is spending $5 billion a year as an entity. And it wouldn't really be anything for ASU to be like, okay, we're going to give athletes $20 million or $30 million. And that Crow does care a lot about athletics. That's why ASU has like 26 sports or something like that, more than any Big 12 school. Mm-hmm. It's just that the budget doesn't really support that right now, which has contributed to a lot of the problems. But in a new model, whatever that looks like, there's a possibility that Crow could have a huge positive impact on ASU athletics. It's just sort of an unknown as to how he would actually address that sort of a paradigm shift.
Chris, thanks so much for the time and the insight. As always, we appreciate your time today.
You're the best, man. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks a lot. See you guys.
Thank you, Chris Karpman, SunDevilSource.com. The publisher on the Graham Rossini hiring, which is coming as the new athletic director of Arizona State. He joined us on the Arizona Sports Line.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.